Hi, I'm Brett Johnson, former United States most wanted cybercriminal, now good guy, and I'm also the first chief criminal officer on the planet for Arcos Labs. That's right. First one, baby, right here. Good guy, you damn right. I'm also the host of the Brett Johnson Show on YouTube. Today's episode number 46, Ilya Lichtenstein, or How an Idiot Launders Money, and a working theory of the Bitcoin theft when we come back. All right, so we are back to the Brett Johnson Show, episode number 46, kind of a companion piece to episode number 45. You guys remember in episode 45, right? I mean, Forbes was here recording, videoing my episode. So meta. I mean, it's got that metatextuality thing going on, dude. Anyway, they were here because I had a piece of news that no one else on the planet had, except the guy who gave me the documents, but that guy didn't really know what he was looking at. It was like a Reese's cup of cybersecurity. He put his peanut butter in my chocolate got on his peanut butter. I don't mean anything sexual by that, mind you. It's just that we both needed each other in order to break this news wide open, and boy, did it break open. Turns out that 2016, the Bitfinex theft, they arrested Ilya Lichtenstein and his wife, Heather Morgan, a.k.a. Razzle Khan, a rapper or a would-be rapper or a horrible rapper. Both of them idiots. But they arrested him February of this year for trying to launder those stolen funds. $4.5 billion in money laundering charges is what they're facing. The piece of news that I had was that, hey, back in the day, looks like Ilya's dad, Eugene, he was a bit of a criminal himself, a really big-time criminal, a very skilled cyber criminal. He was very good about getting into computer systems. Secret Service knew it. They declined to charge him because if they would have charged him, it would have been publicly disclosed that one of the computers that he accessed and breached was a United States Secret Service machine, and it would have potentially tainted the evidence of 9 other pending prosecutions. So that was the news. Bombshell, you damn right, because no one on the planet knew it. None of the investigating agents, nobody else. For some reason, the Secret Service didn't tell the investigative agencies that arrested Ilya and Razzle Khan. Wonder why? Well, we'll get into that a little bit today. Oh, yeah, we'll get into that a little bit today. So that's today's show. Now, hey, what we're going to do, I have missed, the last show, it was not my regular format. So we'll come back in a second. And the reason we're going to come back in a second is because I got a cat that's bothered me. I got to put the thing outside. It's sitting here meowing at me. So we'll be right back with our viewer comments. All right, so we are back once again to the Brett Johnson Show. We're going to do some viewer comments. I didn't get to do those last time. Why? Well, because I was too busy breaking this news, and I had a Forbes film crew here talking to me and filming me. So I didn't have a chance to do viewer comments, but there's a couple that I wanted to talk about, and you'll forgive me, but I didn't pull up who said them, so I don't remember. But hey, usually I say the person's name who left the comment or the question, and we go from there. Someone commented about, could I talk about Facebook Marketplace? Yes, I can. I could talk about them all day long, and none of it would be good. How do you know you're not being scammed on Facebook Marketplace? You don't. You don't. It's the same as Craigslist. It's the same as eBay used to be. Maybe eBay still got scams going on, but you really don't know. What I would say is never pay anyone with an instrument that you don't have some form of recovery. For example, if you send them Zelle, you're not protected at all. If you send them Venmo, you're not protected. Friends and family through PayPal, you're not protected. Use a credit card, okay? Use some sort of protected means to carry through that transaction. If it's a face-to-face meeting, meet in a safe place. The economy right now is going bottoms up. All right. It's not going to, honestly, it's got a long way to go before it starts to get better. Because of that, we're going to see more and more crimes of opportunity, financial types of crimes, we're going to see those continue to rise, as well as violent crimes, as we're seeing right now. What I say is if you find something on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, wherever you find it, and that individual wants to meet you, meet in a safe place. Most cities have a safe sanctioned place, usually in front of a police station somewhere, that you can meet and exchange those goods. When you exchange them, make sure they work. All right. Run the serial number. Hell, walk into the police station and say, hey, we're conducting this transaction. Carry on like that. Make sure that you are protected. What happens with scams is a lot of the times the potential victim is really wanting something. You may want that camera and you may see it on Facebook Marketplace, Craigslist, where have you for, 70, 80% of the retail price. You're like, man, that's a good deal. I can't get that anyplace else. So you've got that desire going on, and a criminal, a scammer like I used to be, will actually use that to manipulate you. They know that that desire will cause you to set reason to the side and act in an emotional way because you want that. Okay, that emotional motivation of desire overcomes reason and logic. So pay attention. I've talked about this stuff before. Pay attention. If you buy something, make sure you're protected. Always. Always. Okay. So moving right along, Mary Patterson. Mary, I like you. I like you a lot. You're either sending me really good questions or making really good comments. I don't remember the specific comment that you made regarding the last episode. It was something about whistleblowers. So I'd like to take a second to talk about that. There's a difference between truth and facts. All right. You'll have somebody say, oh, no, if it's a fact, it's got to be the truth. No, it doesn't. For example, 1941, if you were in grade school and you were asked a question, can the atom be split? Your answer would be far different in 1941 than it would be in late 1945. So no, facts aren't always the truth. You have the facts, but what is the truth of everything? And the reason I say that, whistleblowers, it kind of applies, it applies to this whole episode, as we'll get into, but it also applies to whistleblowers. Are they whistleblowers, or are they disgruntled employees? And can a company paint that person that's talking as a disgruntled employee? And I'll tell you where I get that. I know Mudge Zadko. He's the whistleblower on Twitter right now. And he's been bitching a lot about Twitter's security. Okay. And my view of that is, yeah, they may have some security issues. My other view of that is point me to one company that doesn't. All right. They all do. My other issue with that is that Mudge didn't say anything until he was fired from Twitter. So he was fine with all of those security issues while working at Twitter. He was more than fine. He kept his mouth shut and he trudged along. Mudge trudged. Mudge trudged along every single day. It wasn't until he was fired that he begins to bitch about the security of Twitter. Now that tells me, hey, what he is he is simply a disgruntled employee. Now, does that make what he says wrong? No, but it definitely detracts from what he says. I served 7.5 years in prison. 7.5, by no stretch of the imagination, is that comparable to men that I knew who had served 30, 35, or who would never get out of prison. One of the things that we often said, and that was told to me many, many times, is if you don't stand for something, you will fall for anything. What I would say about whistleblowers is that they are needed. But do you believe in what you're doing? So if you're going to be a whistleblower, I think it's important to be ideologically motivated, all right, to really believe that you're doing the right thing. Because if you really believe that you're doing the right thing, you don't have to wait until you're fired to talk. What that tells me is that you're not motivated by ideology at all. You're motivated by anger. And while you were working with that company like Twitter, PayPal, whatever, and I like PayPal. PayPal's got good security. While you're working with that company, your motivation is cash. They're paying you a few $100,000 a year, so you're going to keep your mouth shut. You're fine with whatever issues that they've got. I have a huge issue with that. I have a problem with that. What I would say is it's important for whistleblowers to speak up immediately, to not let things go. The longer you let something go, the more that can be used to paint you as somebody who really is not a whistleblower at all. It goes back to that saying I used to have when I was a cybercriminal. Actually, I've still got it today. The perception of truth is more important than the truth itself. Facts don't matter. What matters is what I can convince someone of. So you've got someone like Mudge Zadko on one end of the spectrum that's bitching about Twitter security. Oh, it's horrible, it's horrible, it's horrible. You've got Twitter on the other end saying he's a disgruntled employee. Which do I believe? Well, I know that he didn't complain about it while working there, so it must not have been too big of an issue to him at that point in time. So I veer toward him being more of a disgruntled employee than anything. Now, I'm probably going to upset, I'm probably going to upset some of my colleagues in the cybersecurity industry, but say one thing about me, I don't hold back when it comes to saying something. I'm going to say it. I don't really give a damn who gets upset or doesn't like it or whatever. That's just the way I am. This show, one of the things this show is about is telling the truth. It's not about holding back. It's about getting the truth out there, regardless of the consequences. That's what I think that more whistleblowers need to realize, getting the truth out there, regardless of the consequences. And are there consequences? Well, there absolutely are. That's one of the things that whistleblowers need to understand. There are absolutely consequences. I think it's going to be very difficult for Mr. Zatko, the whistleblower of Twitter. I think it's going to be very difficult for him to find gainful employment because he was talking about a company that he worked for, that he was head of security for. Pay that attention. Pay mine now. He was head of security, and he gets fired, and then he talks about the security problems at the company he was head of security of. I mean, it's not hard to paint that picture. So I think it's going to be, and most whistleblowers, when they start talking, they are blacklisted in the industry, and they find it very difficult to gain any employment whatsoever. So you see a lot of whistleblowers that remain anonymous. The problem with an anonymous whistleblower is that, they aren't really respected. They don't have the clout to really say anything because no one knows who's saying it. So what would I say? I would say that it's important to get the truth out, regardless of the consequence. But then again, that's me. All right. But there are other people that are like that too. For example, I don't like Bradley/Chelsea Manning or Edward Snowden. Don't like them. But I do respect Bradley/Chelsea Manning. Absolutely, I do. Because that individual, they stole the documents. They released the documents as a whistleblower. Well, not really even a whistleblower, but they released those documents. And then Manning stood around and waited for those consequences. I'd have no respect for Edward Snowden because he stole the documents, released the information, and then ran for the hills and became a Russian pawn. So I have no respect for that person at all. Manning, though, I do, because Manning obviously believed in what they were doing enough to stand up and say, hey, it was me. Do what you're going to do. I still believe in what I said. I think more, and I'm not calling them whistleblowers because they did not go through channels. They were not whistleblowers. But I would take that as an example with any whistleblower that's out there. If you're not going to stand for something, you'll fall for anything. We're here on this planet to help each other. If we know that something wrong is happening, we have to speak up. And sometimes that comes with consequences. It come to find out that when you tell the truth on people who are lying or doing wrong, a lot of the time, they work against you. They try to bring you harm. And the industry, because a lot of those industry people as well, they may be doing wrong. And they may be worried, well, hell, if I hire this person, they may tell on me. My solution for that is do the right damn thing. That's my solution for that. Yeah, I would, for whistleblowers, understand the consequences. If you will be to remain anonymous about that, because let's be honest, people have to feed their families. If you will be to remain anonymous about that, go through proper channels, contact the press as well, let everyone know and get it out. Contact a reputable source that can, at least that reputable source can lend credence to the story that you're telling, since your name's not going to be attached to it. But understand the consequences of those actions, and understand too that even if you remain anonymous, because of what you're talking about, that company can probably still identify who it is. It's not rocket science, okay? But it's important that we do the right thing. It's extremely important that we do that. We have to work together to help each other, because if not, things fall apart. And I got to tell you, right now, things are looking like they're falling apart worldwide. You know, we had Queen Elizabeth passed away yesterday, and it's a sad moment. I think that's just another one of that's the capper of the past few years of things just going astray. Whistleblowers, I love you guys. I please, if you're going to blow the whistle, don't wait until you're fired and you're just angry and you want to speak up. Speak up when it matters, while you're there at the company, when you can make a difference. All right, speak up at that point. That's what I would say. Mary, I'm not sure if that answers your question, but that's my viewpoint on whistleblowers. Peter Taylor. Peter is a friend of mine over in the UK, ex-law enforcement officer. Now he works cybersecurity, fraud, things like that, and he is an outstanding individual. He contacted me the other day on LinkedIn after I released episode 45 talking about Eugene. He reached out to me on LinkedIn and said that he had to, somebody had been talking about all of these former cyber criminals and felons and how, you know, they really didn't know what they were talking about. And Peter told me, hey, I defended you because you absolutely know what you're talking about. I met Peter when I first started this legal career of mine, when I didn't even know if I was going to be a legitimate, legal, law-abiding citizen. I was still questioning that at that point in time. But Peter met me in the UK. We sat there and we had fish and chips with mushy peas, a couple of pints, and I just told my story, and we talked about cybercrime, my story, and that kind of stuff. And I have no doubt that at that point, Peter also was kind of questioning whether I was going to remain a legal person or not. But Peter absolutely understood that I was skilled when it comes to cybercrime and fraud. So we developed a friendship. And the thing I like about Peter is that Peter is open-minded, but he continues to be analytical throughout any relationship or any engagement with a client. Oftentimes you'll get somebody and they sign you on as a consultant, or they hire you, or what have you, and they either the employer or the consultant, the employee, at that point, they become a little bit more subjective than objective. They don't let the facts tell the story. They try to narrate what the story is. And Peter is not like that. With my engagement with Peter, he is my friend. He is outstanding, but he is also someone who continues, you know, he knows where I come from, and he continues to kind of, okay, so what's Brett doing now? All right, so he's still doing it. It looks like he's doing all right. So just want everyone to know that we need more of that. This idea that, and I've ran across that a few times during this legal career of mine, of individuals who really believe that someone cannot turn their lives around, that because someone was a criminal in the past, that they can't change and lead a productive life. And I think that's completely false. I think that type of mindset really harms that person as a human and with whatever career that they've got. And I've seen it. I don't see it often, but I've seen it in the fraud industry. I've seen it with at some conferences that I've spoken to where, you know, maybe the person that brings me in is against paying felons to speak, or you have somebody in the audience that may say, well, I don't know why you brought that guy in. Well, I'll tell you why you brought that guy in. You brought that guy in, me, because I know more than you. That's why you brought that guy in. I know a hell of a lot more than you, and probably more than you'll ever know. Not conceited, just telling the truth. So you may not like me, but by God, you better listen to me, or people like me, we're going to eat you alive. Just the tip of the day. All right, when we come back, we're going to dive into Ilya Lichtenstein, why he's an idiot. Eugene Lichtenstein, what I really think about some things. And we're going to go on from there as we talk about the Bitfinex theft when we come back. All right, so we're back again to the Brett Johnson Show, episode number 46. We're going to talk about Eugene. We're talking about Ilya being an idiot. We're going to talk about the Bitfinex stuff a little bit. What I want to start off with, I had initially planned on starting off talking about Ilya Lichtenstein, Heather Morgan, and the stupid-ass way that they tried to launder money. I'm going to talk about that not first, but last, because I first want to get this stuff out about Eugene and kind of paint this picture in the audience's or listeners' minds. All right, so what do I think about Eugene? I'll just put it bluntly. I think that Eugene Lichtenstein was an informant for the United States Secret Service. There you go. I said it, got it out there. Now, why do I think that? Well, I'm going to share the screen. I'm going to walk through exactly why I think that. So remember this individual gave me some unredacted discovery documents. He also gave me some FOIA request documents. So this individual, one of the documents, and I showed this last week on episode 45, to out Eugene Lichtenstein as a former, experienced, extremely competent cyber criminal. We're going to use some of those documents today to also talk about this new idea that I've got that, hey, Eugene may have been an informant for the United States Secret Service. Okay, so let's start laying this groundwork. This is from the discovery of this one individual's case. Report made by case Special Agent Bradley S. Smith. He is still with the United States Secret Service. He is on the President's protective detail today. So what he says is they identified Yevgeny Lichtenstein, Eugene Lichtenstein. He obtained numerous bank account logins from First National Bank and Trust, Indiana, and has attempted to withdraw money from those accounts. The Indianapolis field office is requested to serve a grand jury subpoena on First National Bank. So, details of the investigation. CI 05001118, that's me, Gollum Fund, a.k.a. Brett Johnson, has been in contact with Deuce, a.k.a. Eugene Lichtenstein, who claims to have hacked a server for First National Bank and Trust, Indiana. Lichtenstein explained that he was able to obtain over 200 accounts that contained certificate of deposit applications. Full account and personal information was available to him. Deuce further stated that he is able to apply for online banking and telephone banking capabilities with this information. He claims to have done this with a few accounts. By doing this, he is able to order either a bill pay or electronic funds transfer. Deuce requested CI, me, Gollum Fund, my assistance in determining how to withdraw the funds. Lichtenstein provided the following username and password, and he gave me a username and password to a user at that point in time. I was able to log into that account and then verify that, hey, this individual absolutely had those documents. Further down in, share this thing one more time while we're talking. I share this thing again. So on down in the investigative report, Special Agent Smith, I have had numerous conversations with Paul Brinker, First National Bank and Trust, regarding this compromise. Brinker confirmed that numerous accounts had been compromised and that his company would provide information regarding those accounts once they received a subpoena. So we had the guy. That's just a fact. We had identified who it was. An investigation was going on. He had admitted that he had hacked into the servers and that he had compromised at least 200 First National Bank and Trust of Indiana accounts. And it was also confirmed through the bank that those accounts were indeed compromised, that they had problems. Lichtenstein reached out to me because he was having trouble laundering the money. He could access the accounts. He could compromise the servers. Hell, he compromised the Secret Service machine that I was using. So he was experienced and he was skilled at breaching. He didn't have much skill at laundering the money out, at actually cashing those accounts out. So he reached out to me for assistance on that. Now, I'm going to show another document here. And this is from a FOIA request of this young man who shared these documents with me. This is page 7 of an MR, monthly report. So page 7, and this is the interview of Eugene Lichtenstein. Special agent and I interviewed Eugene Lichtenstein at the Chicago field office. Prior to the interview, Lichtenstein was advised that he was not under arrest and was free to leave at any time. Lichtenstein stated that he understood he was not in custody and voluntarily agreed to be interviewed. The following is a synopsis of that interview. Lichtenstein stated that he moved to the United States from Russia approximately 13 years ago. He further stated that he is fluent in the Russian language. Lichtenstein stated that he became interested in fraudulent schemes conducted over the internet in 2004, further stated that his interest was directed toward advance fee or 419 schemes, and that he would attempt to gain access to the computers of the perpetrators of these types of crimes to warn potential victims. Sounds like a good story. Lichtenstein stated that he became interested in online carding forums, such as Shadow Crew and Theft Services. Shadow Crew, me, with the same intent, which was to warn potential victims of these types of crimes. Eugene further stated that he installed a keylogger on the computer used by Brett Johnson. With this keylogger, Eugene stated that he took control of Brett Johnson's email accounts. In addition, he stated that he posted personal information obtained from emails on the FedWatch Google group. So he took over email accounts, took over some payment accounts, terrorized the Secret Service and myself, my fiance at the time, everything else. Made us actually posted addresses to other criminal forums that the Secret Service was worried enough that they made me change addresses at that point in time. All right, so it was a concern. Lichtenstein stated that he initially wanted to expose Gollum Fund, me, but later attempted to obtain money from several compromised accounts from a bank in Indiana with Brett Johnson's assistance. Eugene Lichtenstein stated that he was unsuccessful in obtaining fraudulent funds from these compromised accounts. And here is where we get into what I was talking about, that I believe he was a Secret Service informant. This line right here. Eugene Lichtenstein stated that he would cooperate in the furtherance of this and any other Secret Service investigation. He admitted that he was the subject who used the screen names Deuce and Menace Day when communicating online with Brett Johnson and other subjects. Therefore, Eugene Lichtenstein has been eliminated as a subject in this investigation. So we have it in an MR, in a monthly report filed by this special agent Brad Smith, that Eugene Lichtenstein agreed. He admitted to it, and he agreed. Now, they had him on, they were going to charge him with $500,000 of attempted cash outs. They were going to charge him with access device fraud. They were going to charge him with aggravated identity theft. They were going to charge him with unauthorized access of a government computer, all kinds of crap. He would have got at least 5 years in prison. They chose not to do that. They chose not to prosecute him. Now, why? Well, in the last episode, what I said is that, I go on the run, I screw over the Secret Service. So they couldn't put me on the stand against the 9 individuals that I had helped build cases against. Also, the machine that I used was the machine that gathered all the evidence against these 9 individuals, that same machine that Eugene Lichtenstein had compromised. So they didn't want that information being disclosed to those other 9 people that were pending prosecution. Because why? Because it's very easy for a defense attorney to say, hey, he could have manipulated evidence, anything else. You had an attacker in the system for 3 months, at least 3 months. Do you even know when he accessed it? Well, no, we don't know. Well, then you don't know how long he was in the system. You just know when you got him out of the system, right? Well, yeah, when you put it like that. Yeah, when you put it like that. So they chose not to prosecute so they wouldn't have to publicly disclose what Eugene Lichtenstein had done. All right? But you got to cover yourself. This is that difference between the facts and the truth. That's the facts. All right? The facts are, and that he compromised a machine, that he admitted to compromising accounts, admitted to trying to cash out. The truth is that Eugene Lichtenstein had value. More than just, breaching a Secret Service computer, he was a skilled criminal, and it says it right in the monthly report. He agrees to cooperate with this and any other Secret Service investigation. My thought is they brought him in as an informant. It solves a lot of problems. It solves the problem of, hey, we don't have to prosecute him. We've got cover on why we don't have to prosecute him, because he's agreed to be an informant. You get that? Yeah. So they have to cover their ass. They have to say, well, we've got to have a reason why we're not prosecuting. Well, the reason we're not prosecuting him is he's an informant. He's working his time off. We don't have to file charges on him because he's lending government assistance. Same thing they did with Albert Gonzalez before Albert screwed him over. Yeah, they didn't prosecute Albert either. So my thought is that Eugene Lichtenstein was an informant for the United States Secret Service. It allowed them to not have to disclose publicly what he had done. It also gave them cover for that excuse of not prosecuting him to begin with. The problem with that is that Ilya, February of 2022, comes in and he is indicted for trying to launder stolen Bitfinex tokens, Bitcoins, 119,000 of them, $4.5 billion worth. That's the problem. And the problem is that agencies don't share information with each other. So the Secret Service doesn't share information with the FBI or the IRS or Border Patrol or anybody else. They don't share information. So somebody at the Secret Service, when Ilya was arrested, somebody knew who his dad was, yet that was never disclosed. This individual who gave me the documents, this guy, he files a FOIA request, 2007, gets the FOIA documents, 2014, thousands of pages, decides in 2019 he wants a virtual copy of them, submits the same FOIA request, gets back 60 pages. FOIA is very good about one thing. What FOIA can do, the initial FOIA request, you get those documents, then you submit another FOIA request and see what they left out. What they left out is where the problems are. What did they leave out? All this stuff I'm talking about today and a lot more stuff too. Boy, this hammer is going to fall. This hammer is going to fall. Now, I think that Eugene Lichtenstein absolutely was an informant. I think he gave government assistance, and that's why they didn't prosecute him. Now, we're going to leave that there. We're going to leave that there for just a second. And we're going to transition over into talking about the skill levels of how cyber criminals operate. You see, what happens is, I talk about this a lot in presentations on my show, everything else. What you see a lot of the time is that a beginning cyber criminal, guy doesn't know a damn thing. He comes into maybe Telegram, or he goes over to Dread or one of these criminal forums, or he's watching YouTube videos and he starts watching tutorials, or maybe he buys a tutorial for $5 or $10, or he asks somebody how to do something. Or if he's really going to roll big, he'll pay someone to teach him a live instruction class on how to commit a specific type of fraud. And those things run anywhere from, say, $300 up to $3,500. There's a guy on Telegram that charges $2,500 to $3,500 to train you how to do first-party fraud, refunding fraud. And he's very successful with it. So that's beginning cyber criminals. And these people don't know anything. Not a damn thing. I mean, they don't understand the need for proxy addresses. They don't understand the need for different devices or to spoof different devices. They don't understand any of that stuff, or different how to set up email accounts or anything else like that. They have no skill level. But even beginning cyber criminals, if they stay in it for any length of time whatsoever, if they're just in it for a couple of weeks, you start to pick up some stuff. You start to pick up the importance of having different IP addresses when you're committing crimes or setting up accounts or taking over accounts or committing credit card fraud or anything else like that. You need those different IP addresses. You need different devices. And it doesn't take long for a cyber criminal to start understanding that and develop that knowledge base. And that's a base level knowledge base for online criminals. That's really one of the first things you learn. All right. The other first thing you learn is a lesson that I used to teach in Shadow Crew. As a matter of fact, I've got a slide that I show in almost every presentation that I give, that all crime should begin with identity theft. Why would I commit a crime under my name if I can do it under someone else's name? So all crimes should begin with identity theft. And these are just base level cybercrime 101 lessons. This is something that every single cyber criminal learns after just a few weeks of committing these crimes. Okay? Understand that. So I just wanted to share that. Doesn't matter. If nothing else, they learn it through osmosis. While they're sitting on their ass reading these forums, they kind of soak it up through the anus. They learn it through osmosis, if nothing else, but it's learned. That's important because we're going to walk through how Ilya Lichtenstein laundered money. So I've been reading the affidavit, the warrant, the arrest warrant, the affidavit on Ilya Lichtenstein. I need to pull that up. While we're talking here, I'm going to pull that thing up. So Ilya, let me pull a laptop up here. There we go. Ilya Lichtenstein, statement of facts. Statement of facts for Ilya. All right, so we're going to, let me blow this up a little bit as well so that we can read along. I'm all about reading along. You know, in grade school, we used to read along. Today, we're going to read along as well. So here we go. We're going to share the screen. So this is the statement of facts as submitted by Christopher Janczewski, special agent assigned to the IRS criminal investigation. And let me tell you, the IRS criminal investigation unit, they are no slouches. The federal, and it was also, so the people who arrested Ilya and Heather Morgan, IRS and the FBI. FBI, again, no slouches. I love the FBI. They do a great job. My personal opinion right now is by reading everything that's going on in this case. I don't know how the Secret Service is now, but back then, they probably should have left the cybercrime work to the professionals at the FBI. Just saying. Just throwing that out there because it looks like, well, I was a black eye to them. Albert Gonzalez was a black eye to him. And it looks like, actually, it doesn't even look like, Eugene Lichtenstein is a black eye to him, too. It's like the trifecta of cybercrime, the trifecta of informants. Oh, you got it. You got it. Oh, did you get it? So looking at the statement of facts, we're going to go on down to number 4. So in number 4, in or around August 2016, a hacker breached Bitfinex's security systems and infiltrated its infrastructure. While inside Bitfinex's network, the hacker was able to initiate over 2,000 unauthorized Bitcoin transactions in which approximately 119,000 Bitcoins was transferred from Bitfinex to an outside wallet, identified as 1CGA4S to the 5th power. At the time of this breach, 119,000 coins was valued at approximately $71 million. Due to the increase of value in Bitcoin by February of 2022, it was valued at, those stolen coins were valued at $4.5 billion. Number 5, and I'm not going to read every single one of these. There's some that I'm going to read and some not. Number 5, U.S. authorities traced the stolen funds on the Bitcoin blockchain. As detailed below, beginning in or around 2017, a portion of the stolen Bitcoins moved out of wallet 1CGA4S in a series of small, complex transactions across multiple accounts and platforms. This shuffling, which created a voluminous number of transactions, appeared to be designed to conceal the path of the stolen Bitcoins, making it difficult for law enforcement to trace the funds. Despite these efforts, as explained further below, U.S. authorities traced the stolen Bitcoin to multiple accounts controlled by Ilya Dutch Lichtenstein, a Russian U.S. national residing in New York, and his wife, Heather Morgan, a.k.a. Razzle Khan. Number 6, the 2017 transfers notwithstanding, the majority of the stolen funds remained in wallet 1CGA4S from August 2016 until January 31, 2022. Goes on to say in 2022, they came in and they seized 94,000 Bitcoins. That was what was left. So in 2017, Ilya Lichtenstein attempts to launder 25,000 of the stolen Bitfinex tokens. Bitcoins. Just 2017, just for that 1 year. All right. So during 2017, he tries to launder 25,000 of these. And we're going to talk about the techniques he used to launder those. He tries to launder them and he stops. For some reason, he stops after that 1 year and doesn't touch the rest of the coins. And they find the rest of the coins on a cloud server that was owned, email server that was owned by Ilya Lichtenstein. They find the wallet decryption keys, everything else, all these other encrypted documents. So I'm going to share screen again as we talk about this. Let's see where we are. So we're at number 8. In conducting these transactions, as described further below, and these are the techniques that Ilya Dutch Lichtenstein and Razzle used to launder money. So I'm just going to go through the 6 different techniques that he used. All right. So number 1, using accounts set up with fictitious identities. And here's the thing. Every single one of these techniques are valid, legitimate ways to launder stolen currencies and cryptocurrencies. Absolutely 100% legitimate. This shit works if you know how to do it. So number 1, using accounts to set up fictitious identities. Number 2, moving the stolen funds in a series of small amounts totaling thousands of transactions, as opposed to moving the funds all at once or in larger chunks. You move it smaller, it becomes more and more difficult to trace all the tokens that are out there. Number 3, utilizing computer programs to automate transactions, a laundering technique which allows for many transactions to take place in a short period of time. That's right. You don't want to do this shit manually if you can avoid it, because you've got 119,000 tokens. There's no way it would take you forever to try to launder that many tokens out. Number 4, layering the stolen funds by depositing them into accounts at a variety of cryptocurrency exchanges and darknet markets, and then withdrawing the funds, which obfuscates the trail of the transaction history by breaking up the fund flow. Again, very legitimate. Number 5, converting the Bitcoin into other forms of virtual currency, typically Monero, in a practice known as chain hopping. And number 6, using US-based business accounts to legitimize the activity. So here's the thing. Every single one of those techniques that Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan deployed to launder money, every single one of those is exactly how you launder cryptocurrency to a T. That's how you do it. But here's the problem. Here's the problem. There's a difference between reading how to do something and knowing how to do something. Or having someone tell you. For example, if you've never ridden a bicycle, I can tell you, well, the only thing you need to do, you got to get your balance right. You sit on the bike, you grab the handlebars, and you start pedaling, and you go. So I've told you how to ride a bike. Does that mean that you know how to ride a bike? No, it don't. You got to have the skill to do that. And that's exactly what happens here. So they know the techniques, but the way they went about it indicates that they had absolutely no understanding at all of how to commit any, and I mean any type of cybercrime. What I said just a few minutes ago about developing that skill as a beginning cybercriminal. I don't care if you're a credit card thief. I don't care if you're a refund fraudster. I don't care if you're stealing DoorDash accounts or Uber accounts or whatever that is. You learn a set of cornerstone fundamentals as a cyber criminal. Different IPs, different emails, different email providers, different devices, blah, 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 blah. You learn that, even if it's through osmosis. You just pick it up as time goes on because everyone talks about that all the time. You know that. Ilya Lichtenstein, Heather Morgan, they had absolutely no understanding of the fundamentals of how to commit some sort of online crime, much less launder money out. All right, so let's go down while I'm talking about this. So it turns out that, what did they do here? So using accounts set up with fictitious identities. I want to get to that section because this is classic. I mean, it's absolutely classic. Let's get to where this is. So I'm going to share this and talk about this real quick. So section 15, the relevant cryptocurrency exchange were registered in the names of third parties unrelated to Lichtenstein and Morgan. So they set up accounts at crypto exchanges in stolen identities and other people's names, okay? Cryptocurrency exchange number 1 was unable to verify the identities of any of the listed account holders. Specifically, in February and March of 2017, the cryptocurrency exchange employees requested that the registered account holders for 7 of the accounts provide additional identifying information to verify their account ownership. Cryptocurrency exchange did not receive a response to these requests. As a result, the currency exchange froze the accounts. In total, $186,000 was the value of those accounts that they froze. So Lichtenstein and Morgan, you set up account. If you're going to launder money, you set up accounts in different people's names. But for some reason, they didn't know anything about KYC, know your customer. For you to set up an account, that bank, that financial institution, that cryptocurrency exchange, that fintech, whatever the hell that is, they have KYC. It's the law. They have to verify that the person setting up the account is the person setting up the account. Now, that's not rocket science for a criminal to be able to trick that and manipulate that. You get someone stolen PII. You may have to make up a fake driver's license, or get someone to take a selfie. There's services that do that for you that charge like $50 to do that. Or you can do it yourself. It's not expensive. It's not hard to do that. But they set up these accounts, started funneling money through there, and hadn't really prepared at all on how to settle or solve KYC. Instead, they got the notification, we need copies of ID, copies of address. We need maybe a selfie with that ID in hand, or photocopies or snapshots of the driver's licenses. They weren't prepared for that, so they abandoned the accounts. The accounts were then frozen. Later on, when they conduct a search warrant against Lichtenstein and Morgan, Lichtenstein's got a damn spreadsheet with those accounts listed saying frozen beside them. So it all linked to him. Idiot had the smoking gun paper. So that's what, again, this is stuff that any beginning cyber criminal would absolutely know. I'm going to get down to, I'm going to share this one thing right here, and then we're going to talk. I'm going to get off sharing documents, and we're just going to talk for a while here in a minute. Number 16, the above referenced 8 cryptocurrency exchange accounts shared notable commonalities, leading investigators to believe that they were owned by the same individual, specifically overlapping subsets of the accounts. 1, were tied to similarly styled email addresses hosted by the same India-based email provider. So what he did was, think of it like this. He sets up email accounts, MadDog1, MadDog2, MadDog3, MadDog4, all at gmail.com. Idiot. Everyone, anybody that's been in cybercrime for any amount of time whatsoever knows not to do that. These accounts were all accessed by the same IP or set up with the same IP. Again, a huge mistake. Probably the first week of cybercrime that you use different IPs. You go get yourself a proxy, an RDP, something like that, or a different device. Number 3, were created around the same time period surrounding the hack of Bitfinex in or around 2016. So those accounts were actually set up right around the same time that Bitfinex was hit for 119,000 tokens, indicating that Ilya Lichtenstein absolutely knows who committed that crime. Number 4, were engaged in similar trading patterns, including chain hopping to anonymity to Monero. And number 5, were abandoned following a request to satisfy KYC. So all that together, and it talks a little bit down below about the spreadsheet that idiot had in his possession that indicated he knew all about it. So he was absolutely guilty in trying to launder those tokens. The problem is that, and he also tried to send some through, Alphabet. So 2017, Alphabet shut down July 5, 2017, largest criminal network on the planet. Ilya and Heather Morgan had tried to send, because the way the Alphabet marketplace operated, you would send Bitcoins in to fund your criminal account, and it would kind of wash those tokens in. So you would send the tokens in to a virtual account that was holding those tokens for you, so you could buy drugs or credit cards or guns or whatever you were buying. And then when you sent them back out, that chain was broken. It was sent to a different address, everything else. It kind of, to a degree, it helped launder or wash the tokens. The problem is that Alphabet gets busted in 2017, July 5th, 2017. The owner of that promptly hangs himself, but federal authorities got the Alphabet database. So they were able to look at and see, okay, some of the Bitfinex coins went in here, because they had the database, they were then able to see where those specific tokens then shot out of and able to track it from that point. And it turns out they were tracked to accounts at virtual currency exchanges that were set up in the name of Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan. Again, a rookie mistake. You never set up the accounts in your names. You don't want that because you anticipate that at some point that database may be compromised. So first crime, all theft, all crime should begin with identity theft. That's one of the cornerstone rules. He didn't do that either. They also set up businesses in their names and had the Bitcoins deposited to those businesses. So every single mistake that you could possibly imagine is exactly what Ilya Lichtenstein and Heather Morgan do. All right. Now, here's why I'm saying this. The person who tried to launder those funds, those 25,000 coins in 2017, is not the same person who stole those tokens from Bitfinex. There's a reason that Ilya Lichtenstein has only been indicted, him and his wife have only been indicted for laundering money. Yeah, they tried to do that. But if you look at the skill set between the laundering and the actual theft of the tokens, the skill sets are completely different. Completely different. The person who laundered the tokens is not the person who stole the tokens. And there's a reason that law enforcement has not indicted those individuals. That's because if you try to say that, it's very easy for any defense attorney. Hell, I can Scooby-Doo that shit. It's very easy for any defense attorney to get on the stand, play Perry Mason and say, hey, this skill level was here, it was here, it was here. So in the theft, you used different IPs, you used RDPs, you used all these different high level or higher level techniques. Yet when you're saying the same person is trying to launder the money, he didn't do any of this. Does that make any sense at all? The signatures are completely different for the criminals that committed those types of crimes. But somebody put those tokens in Ilya Lichtenstein's possession. So who is that? Well, as I disclosed last week, there is one family member who is very adept at compromising financial institutions. Somebody that didn't know Ilya Lichtenstein would not have just willy-nilly given him 119,000 Bitcoins to hold in his possession, especially since he had no real cybercrime skill at all. So whoever did that had some sort of connection with him. All right. And whoever did that is also the person who more than likely broke into Bitfinex. Again, these email accounts that Ilya Lichtenstein was using were connected or set up around the same time that Bitfinex gets hit. So Ilya knows who did it, but he's keeping his mouth shut. Pay attention to that. He's keeping his mouth shut. He's willing to do 25 years in prison instead of tell on who actually stole those Bitcoins. Why? Why? Well, you don't do that for somebody you met online. I'll tell you that. Knowing from experience, you don't do that for somebody you simply met in a forum someplace. So it's somebody that he physically knows. And again, there's only one person that's connected to Ilya that had the skill set, used basically the same type of skill set for compromising a bank back in the day that we see on the Bitfinex theft. That individual was, and that's the funny thing about it, that individual was very skilled about breaching systems, didn't know how to launder money. Ilya Lichtenstein, not skilled at all, didn't know how to launder money. I'm not saying it was him, but I mean, hey, where there's smoke, they tend to be a little fire. You can't tell me that Ilya Lichtenstein stole those tokens. That dog don't hunt. I mean, I can imagine how some of that, and the funny thing is, the laundering only happened during 2017, as if Ilya was trying to launder the funds, and someone then caught on that Ilya was a friggin' idiot and didn't know what he was doing. So the question then becomes, did the person who stole the coins, did they give the coins over to Ilya to hold or to launder? Did they know that Ilya was laundering? So there's two ways that conversation actually goes. Again, complete supposition. This is my theory. Conversation could have been, Ilya, you know my history. I am good on one thing. I am not good at everything. You, my son, do you think you can launder funds? And of course, little Ilya is like, oh, Father, I can do it, Father. You know, the apple does not fall from the tree. Just give me a chance, like Father, like Son, Daddy. So that's one of the way conversations went. Another way the conversation went is maybe Ilya was trying to steal some of those tokens. And then the person that committed the crime found out about it. And that conversation may be like, son, are you an idiot? My God, you're doing this all wrong. You must stop now. You are caught. And then what happens? Son, they are more than likely you have knock at door. This is not my problem. This is your problem. Whatever happens, this is on you. You face the music. You tell on me, no. You face the music. Because Ilya Lichtenstein's keeping his mouth shut. I don't know how the conversation went. That's the way I play it out in my head sometimes. Just like that. I don't know. But I do know that, well, I'm not an investigator. I know that the wheels are turning in the background. That machinery, it's just chugging along. And I have the utmost confidence that law enforcement will absolutely find out what the connection is. No doubt about it. I have the utmost confidence on that. I do wonder if, as it turns out, there may be, looking at some of the stuff that was seized during the search warrants, some of it may be some sort of FSB connection, because some of the documents that were seized were layouts of camera positions in Ukrainian post offices of all weird type of shit like that. So I'm wondering if there may be some sort of organized crime connection, because, again, it's $4.5 billion worth of stolen tokens, or if it might be some sort of nation-state connection. I don't know. I know that Eugene comes from Russia. He did not come over here unskilled. And usually those people that are skilled have some sort of connection somewhere. It's interesting to me that if those connections still existed, that Ilya Lichtenstein is the person that gets fingered for laundering money, because he had no skill at all. And if those connections were still there, the proper people would have been laundering the money. So you got a lot of questions, and I am confident that we are going to get to the answers. Until that point, I think I'm just going to sit back, let the case develop. If any new things pop up, I'll update the listeners that are out there. I'm talking to reporters almost every day. Of course, I'm in the Forbes documentary, things like that as well. But we're going to get to the bottom of this. Justice will be done. Depending on how it plays out, we may see some careers end, stuff like that. But you know what? At the end of the day, what do? We do the right damn thing. We tell the truth, regardless of the consequences. I'm Brett Johnson. What do we say? We say stay safe, stay secure, and stay vigilant. More importantly, I'm Brett Johnson, and this is the Brett Johnson Show. Just do the right damn thing. I'm Brett Johnson. Thank you for listening. Until next time.